Mass Effect was initially produced for the PC and Xbox 360 in 2007 and would later be ported for the PlayStation 3 in 2012. Developed by Canadian studio BioWare, the company wanted to create a game where they had their own creative freedom, as their previous titles were licensed except for Shattered Steel, which was their first IP. Due to this change of direction, not only they turned down a sequel to the critically acclaimed Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, they had to adapt to a constant change in industry, with titles like Battlefield and Call of Duty propelling the FPS genre to fame, while MMORPGs such as World of Warcraft were gaining a fanbase. Despite what was going on around them, BioWare were determined to produce their own IP with engaging gameplay and an original story, and while video games primarily focus on giving players a level of interactivity as well as variety, the studio wanted to prove that you can have compelling stories to coincide with gameplay. They plan to have the narrative to expand across 3 games, but as with every new IP, the first impressions are the most crucial since it could determine the success of the series. Fortunately, Mass Effect got positive reception upon its release, but how does it hold up today? You play as Commander Shepard, an Alliance Marine who is tasked to investigate a beacon on Eden Prime. However, when one of your squad mates gets too close, Shepard intervenes only to have a vision imprinted into his or her mind. During their investigation, they soon discover that Seren, a spectre of the Citadel Council, has gone rogue to join the Geth. Shepard and his crew try to prove Seren is a traitor, but the council reject the accusations. However, after some searching, they encounter a young warrior named Tali, as she salvaged audio files to prove Seren's treachery. She also uncovers that he's trying to bring back a race called the Reapers, which is said to be responsible for wiping out all galactic civilizations in the galaxy, and the conduit is the key for their return. With the galaxy at stake, Shepard is tasked to gather intel and find a way to stop Seren. The story is one of the game's strengths, as the performances from the entire cast are believable, and it also helps that each character have their own backstory to tell. Whether it's uncovering the genophage and how it's affecting the Krogan race, or how the Quarians were exiled from their home planet, all of these stories and many more further flesh out the world of Mass Effect. Not only because it gets you to know these characters, they also serve to advance the story forward as well as develop Shepard's character arc. The dialogue choices provide many options on how you respond to your squad mates and other NPCs, and some can alter Shepard's attitude. Within specific circumstances, you may be given Paragon and Renegade dialogue to choose from, but these will depend on what Shepard you want to play as. Some decisions are straightforward, but some of these can determine who lives and who dies, and your actions carry over into the 2 sequels, which I'll be discussing in the following videos. Throughout the game, Shepard can romance with one of 3 characters: Kaidan, Ashley and Liara. Depending on your character's gender, you can develop a relationship by speaking to them during mission debriefings, and when it gets past the point of no return, a cutscene will play with them having intercourse with one another. Although these romantic choices are optional, they caused controversy in 2008 when news outlets were stating the game was promoting interactive pornography, but these accusations turned out to be false. Furthermore, if the creators were going to feature mature content, it would be reflected in the age rating label to let the public know who it's aimed for. If age labels weren't featured on all forms of visual entertainment, the public would be uncertain whether they can watch or play the content in front of minors, not to mention it would inhibit the creators of coming up with new ideas for future projects. At the beginning of the game, you have the option to choose between a male or female protagonist, and both avatars are customizable in terms of their backstory, combat attributes and facial features. The 2 presets are present if you don't want to get your creative mojo on, but it's entirely up to you how you want Shepard to look like. Although BioWare wanted to make the story compelling, the gameplay and controls are also simple to comprehend. Before each mission, you're required to take 2 squad mates, each having their own perks, and they all have an effect in combat. For example, synthetic enemies like Geth will be vulnerable to those like Tali who specialise in electronics, while Liara on the other hand has powers geared towards biotics. As you advance through the story, you gain points that can be spent to upgrade Shepard's abilities such as improved protection, increased stopping power, as well as unlocking other hidden traits. These points also apply to your companions, but which perks you invest in are up to your own discretion, and the game allows these points to be applied automatically. Weapons can be found on missions as well as be purchased from merchants, and all of them can be equipped with specific modifications to improve their effectiveness. They don't run out of ammo, but they do overheat if you fire recklessly, so you'll be relying on your squad mates' perks in order to eliminate your foes. While I didn't use them throughout most of my playtime, it was only towards the end when I came to the realization how effective they are. Some complained the missions became too repetitive since you're fighting Geth for the most part, but due to the wide variety of weapons to select, the fact you're switching squad mates according to the situation, and giving commands on the fly, I didn't find it tedious even when I was 2/3 into the game. However, one thing I will point out is the side missions weren't as engaging compared to the main story. They are optional and can be completed in any order, but visiting the same building over and over can become tiresome, not to mention some missions do contain a level of backtracking. Mass Effect may have wowed many players back in 2007, but all these years later it certainly shows its age. It suffers with a lot of texture pop-in, and the frame rate doesn't help either, especially during combat situations. There are even times when bizarre glitches occurred, such as characters being out of frame, and some cutscenes being awkwardly silent when audio should play. The performances, on the other hand, are outstanding, as it clearly shows there was so much effort in giving all characters their personality. This is only a personal preference, but I think Jennifer Hale's performance as female Shepard is more real, compared to Mark Mear's portrayal as the male counterpart. Not only because she can generate a sense of leadership in her voice, she sounds a lot more dynamic as far as her performance is concerned. I might be jumping the gun here since this is the first game in the trilogy, but I want to point it out. Despite having 4 composers to create the music, they all contributed to making immersive pieces, as each score is distinct and adds to the game's universe. Whether it's the theme of Shepard becoming a Spectre, or the sci-fi ambience when plotting a course in the galaxy map, all of these tracks are memorable and authentic. The only major issues I have is the autosave feature doesn't seem to be prominent as it should be. While you can save your progress manually in the pause menu, it's still easy to forget because you're engaged with the gameplay, and when you die, you could potentially lose at least 5 to 10 minutes of progress. Also, when you acquire new gear, either on the battlefield or from merchants, you are prone to clutter your entire arsenal, which can be annoying when you find a powerful assault rifle for your squad member, only to discard it because your inventory is full. Overall, despite the faults that hold it back, Mass Effect is definitely enjoyable from start to finish. Along with its developed characters, grand choices and engaging combat, you can also carry over your upgraded weapons, armour and gear into a new save, which gives the game replay value. Establishing a new IP can be a challenge since you want to give a positive first impression. Fortunately for BioWare, the praise it got from fans and critics alike would lead the studio to produce a sequel a few years later. It's not flawless and it does show its age, but if you want to experience it for yourself, Mass Effect will never disappoint you.